Hey folks, it's time for a Sunday evening chat. This is Zach Roberts coming to you from Greensboro, North Carolina. It's been a hot one. Good night. It was warm. The thermostat in my car today said 106. I never know if that's accurate or not, but it sure felt like it. I'm going to pick up where I left off a few weeks ago on how I got started in real estate. And this is pretty specific. This is pretty specific to North Carolina and to me. Every single real estate agent is going to have had a different experience, but maybe there's something in here that's useful to you. I am a learner. I like to learn from other people's stories and experiences, and maybe you are too. Or maybe you're just entertained by listening to me talk and smile, and I'm happy to have you tune in as well. Last time I shared on what it was like to start out as a real estate agent, I talked about post-licensing. North Carolina, you have to do a pre-licensing course and a post-licensing course. Both of those require a fee. Both of those have to be through particular accredited institutions here from the state of North Carolina. We talked about exams. We talked about money to get started, all these different things. But the big question, how do you get clients? You go through all this work, and it's a lot. For me, I think it's valuable for me, to be honest. I will tell you, it was very hard. And other real estate agents may say, this was a breeze. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. Do not be discouraged when you hear somebody say how hard it is, and do not be encouraged when you hear somebody else say how easy it was, because you are none of those people. But the question of how do you get clients, that's when you actually start working. And that's an even different and more difficult kind of work than studying for an exam. I've been very open in my videos about my faith. I'm a Christian, very much a practicing Christian, not just in name only. And so that shows up in my life in a whole host of different ways, and certainly with my business. So last June 2024, I finished the school year. I had been teaching full-time, and I was ready to start immediately, transition over into a full-time real estate lifestyle. I took a few weeks trying to rest, but then in June, I really did start trying to figure out, how do I get clients? It wasn't until the last week of August that I got a client, and I really believe that was because God provided. I did some things. I know that. I did some things. But I can tell you, as a man of faith, if God doesn't okay it, it's not going to happen. Okay? So I can put in all the work, all the hours, all the money, and if God says no, he's saying no. Easy example, Job. Job did everything right. God gave approval for these certain things to happen in his life, and his entire life shut down around him. Real estate for me was very frustrating in the beginning because I wanted a really tidy, this is what you do now. There's not a really tidy, this is what you do now. There are lots of suggestions. The team that I work with gave me an enormous list of ways to find clients. I'm sure they're wonderful. I'm sure they are. Other people have had success with this approach. Other people have had success with that approach. You have to find your approach. Let's think about old school methods. One might be literally knocking on doors. You find an area where you may already be known. If you're on your particular street, and you go door to door to door to door, and you give them a home-baked cookie and a business card, and you say, I've changed careers. I work in real estate now. I would really love your support. I can guarantee you the first words out of their mouth, we're not looking to sell our house. And you have to have a response to that, because if you just look at the person and say, "Oh, okay, thanks for your time," and walk away, that's a missed opportunity. Instead, you have to say things like, I understand that you may not be willing to sell your home right now, and you may not be looking to buy a home right now, but I bet you know somebody who is. You have a daughter who's going to move here from New York. You have a grandmother who needs to downsize. You have somebody in your sphere who has real estate needs. I'm here to ask you to share my name. That's an old-fashioned approach where you go door to door and do that. Some people still do it. I heard of a man, and I may steal this because this was a really good idea. I know of a man who would go through certain neighborhoods he wanted to be the known real estate agent in, and if he saw that you had a flagpole, he would look for a patriotic holiday, Flag Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day, etc., and bring you a brand new American flag along with a business card. Now, from a business perspective, he's paying for that. I doubt he has a stack of free American flags somewhere, and I doubt he has a stack of free business cards. His time is not free. He is spending time walking door to door, but he's also getting face recognition. He might be building a reputation and relationships. He meets somebody along the way who says, "Oh, you look familiar. Do you go to my grandmother's church? Or are you a veteran? I knew you from such and such, such and such." This is all positive. You want to be known as a real estate agent. Being an agent, you don't want to be anonymous. You want people to know you. So the flag idea, or taking cookies door to door, or maybe it's just a handshake. I can tell you up front that one of the frustrating aspects to that approach is that a lot of people in 2025 don't open their doors. If you're approaching a home where millennials live, very good chance they're not going to open the door and speak to you. If you're approaching the door of the greatest generation, they're probably afraid. They've reached an age and a stage now where they just don't approach strangers. If you're dealing with baby boomers, they may well open the door. They grew up with that sort of thing, with folks who would come to the door for some need. I'm just giving you clear expectations that my experience has been a lot of people don't even open their doors. And I tried on my own street. They've seen me. They didn't open the doors. Another approach is calling. And you can get numbers a variety of different ways. It may be numbers of people you already know. You're calling your daughter's Sunday school teacher from 7 years ago. It may work for you. If you have just the right rapport and get that little connection and say, "Joyce, we've not talked in 7 years, but I have started a career as a real estate agent and I could really use some support." What's she going to say first? "Oh, we're not looking to sell our house anytime soon." And you're going to say, "I completely understand, and I'm not asking you to do that. I'm simply asking that somebody in your sphere, friend, family, coworker, somebody, could you share my name with them, or vice versa? Could you give me that person's name and contact information? I would love to introduce myself and have the opportunity to work with them in their home buying or selling process." You've heard me say on these videos that I post, when you think of real estate, I want you to think of me. I want the first name to pop in your head when somebody says, "Well, I think we're going to have to sell our house." Zach Roberts. I've got a buddy this week who started a new job, and somebody in the company said, "Well, we're going to have to buy some property for the company." And immediately he said, "I know a real estate agent." Yes, that's exactly what we want. Now, it didn't quite work out in that case because it would be commercial real estate, and I deal in residential. But the principle's still there. I had so connected with him and gained his trust, and he shared my name immediately. There are all sorts of companies out there who will sell you leads. And it's a complicated situation depending on the company and how they even got the leads, how much they charge you for the lead. But I can give you a fairly simple example, something like Zillow or Realtor.com. Notice I pronounced it Realtor. Don't say realtor. It's 2 syllables. I'm not being rude. I'm just being clear. Realtor. 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 Realtor.com has bukus of visitors every day. Same with Zillow. And if they're looking in your particular area, in this particular price range, etc., Zillow can sell you that person's contact information so that you contact John Doe and say, hey, John, I'm a real estate agent here in Greensboro. I saw that you've been searching for a home lately. I would love to partner with you, or even just hear what your goals are in searching for a home to purchase. That can work. I know for a fact. I got my license in April. I began practicing real estate in June. Somewhere in there, I did my training to become a realtor. And realtor is actually an association name. It means that I have joined with the National Association of Realtors. And I had to do an ethics training and all these different things. There was a woman at my table who got her license also in April of 2024. She said, I've already closed 9 transactions. 9? 9? Between April and June? And she looked at me like a woman who had walked from Texas to Vermont during the Great Depression. And she said, I've worked like a dog. And I believe her. She said, I have worked like a dog. Somebody else at the table said, well, how did you get them? She said, I paid for every one of them. She paid for those leads, then contacted. You're paying a certain amount of money depending on the lead, depending on the company. No guarantee that you're actually going to get a closed transaction out of that. And so I had mentors who advised me, don't do that. You can, but it comes with risk. It comes with extra out-of-pocket expense. My approach, I got my first client that last week in August, if you remember from the beginning of this video. Last week in August, how did that woman know to call me? She was from my sphere. She was somebody I knew from church. Even, we weren't deep personal friends, but it was somebody I saw regularly. She sang in the same choir at church. She had heard me request prayer during a Wednesday rehearsal, or probably multiple. And I had said, I need clients. Can we please be praying that God sends me clients? I need a paycheck. And you get the client, you do the work, you don't get your paycheck till weeks and weeks later. So she gave me a call, and we talked through what she needed, what her options were, and she was not calling definitively to hire me even. It was, I might work with you, I might not. And I worked to get her business. I told her flat out, what any other agent charges you, I will undercut. I need the business. And I can explain in another video. How do we define what the pay terms will be? How much do I earn? When do I earn it? What percentage? All of that. I can explain that in a different video if you're interested. But the point of this video, where did that client come from? She had heard literally from my mouth at church say, I need clients. And when she needed to sell her home, she gave me a shot. I thanked her really for taking a risk on me. She knew I was a brand new real estate agent. It's not like I come to the table with 30 years of experience. I had zero. I had zero experience. But what I did come to the table with was impeccable honesty. And when she would ask me a question I didn't know the answer to, I'd tell her, I'll have to check with somebody else. That last example I gave about finding your clients through sphere of influence, SOI, that is my bread and butter. Almost every single client I have had has come from people I already know or through a network of people I know. My second client came from that woman. She sold her home with me, and while it was going up for sale, her neighbor 2 doors down walked over and said, "You're her real estate agent?" I said, "Yes." He said, "We want to sell too, and we want to work with you." That, I'm telling you, folks, the best advertising you can get. Do you know the answer? The best advertising you can get is word of mouth. That's why I spend time on social media. I'm not a social media guy normally, but I'm on here because I said in the very beginning, the very first video, one, I think there's a lot of nastiness and a lot of negativity on social media, and I like to provide some positivity. And two, this could boost my business, because when you think of real estate, I want Zach Roberts to be the first name that pops into your head. The third client I got, and all of these came in 2 weeks. I got 3 different clients. All of them were sellers. That is rare. Normally you get buyers first. I got sellers. God provided. The third was through another woman who sang in our church choir. She had visited with some folks I did not know, and they were aging and contemplating moving into a retirement community. And she said, well, I know a guy at church who's a real estate agent. You should talk to him. She came home, didn't have my number, so she messaged me on Facebook, and she said, these people need an agent. She said, they're not ready to do anything yet, but they need an agent. And so I cold called them, introduced myself, and the man said, yes, we've heard of you. Yes, we've heard you sing. And I went to their home that day. Sat in their living room for 2 hours and talked about their needs, their goals. And I thought they had a 8-month window or so. Next week he called. He said, we've already signed a contract with a place. We need to move out, and we want you to sell our home. I very readily give credit to God for those things. But like I said, there's also, I played a role, and it was talking about it. I did send out some mailers. That's another approach. I sent out cards that had my face on it. It had a typed message, but I also did a handwritten message and hand-addressed each envelope. You'd say, gosh, Zach, that's work. It is. It is. You pay for the card, you pay for the envelope, you pay for the postage, you pay for the pens, you pay for the time. And you just think practical things. When you receive an envelope in the mail, if it's pre-printed, mass-produced, more often than not, you're going to look at it and say it's junk mail and throw it in the recycling bin. If it's hand-addressed in nice loopy handwriting, you're going to say, well, who is this? Who's writing to me? And you at least open it. I can't say that I got any business from those, but I did it to get my name into people's households, into people's hands. And I still do a little once or twice a year mailing. I try to include some handwritten stuff every time, make it personal. I think this is where we're going to leave off today. I've just hit the 18-minute mark. But I'm happy to talk more about this. These are all in a series that I'm doing talking about starting out as a real estate agent in North Carolina. It is challenging. Some of these things worked really well for me. Other things may work really, really well for you. Okay, I welcome you to give me a call, to send me a Facebook message, an Instagram DM. I'll even give you my business phone number here. It's 606-357-1544. You can look up my business page. It is, just go to Google and type in Zach Roberts Realtor or real estate agent. Either way, it'll show up. I've got some really good reviews on there. I ask for folks to give me reviews. I'm so thankful for those. I just told you a moment ago, the very best advertising is word of mouth. And so I appreciate your support. If you think of real estate, I want Zach Roberts to be the first name that pops into your mind. Send me your business, send me your messages, send me your love. Have a great week.